So here's a little secret about storytelling. It's easy to talk about things most folks know. You can charm them with fancy words, tell a tale, make it snazzy. But true stories, tales that stick with you, they come from the dark corners of human history. They whisper to us of times most people would rather forget, and that's why I love stories like the one I'll tell you tonight. Tonight, I want to tell you about the Nordics, a people so fierce and mysterious they've captured the world's imagination for centuries. Now, when you say Nordic, you could mean the countries we know today: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland. They share landscapes, cultures, and a past so rich it feels like yesterday. But when we dig deeper, we find a time when these lands were home to some of the most fascinating people in history, the Vikings. Now, who were the Vikings, you might ask? Well, imagine a warrior who can navigate wild seas with longboats, raid monasteries with ease, trade spices across continents, explore lands untouched by civilization, and live by a code that is as harsh as the winters they face. These weren't just adventurers. They were pioneers, merchants, explorers, each one a testament to the spirit that once thrived in these Nordic lands. Before we continue, let me ask you a question. What comes to mind when you hear the word Nordic? Is it the breathtaking fjords, the enchanting tales of gods and monsters, or perhaps the thrill of Viking raids? Whatever your thoughts may be, the Nordics were more than just warriors. They were storytellers, explorers, farmers, and so much more. When we talk about the Nordics, we're talking about a way of life that existed for hundreds of years. Back in the day, the Nordics were scattered across Scandinavia, which is the fancy name for the places we now call Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Imagine a landscape that's as harsh as it is beautiful, with icy winters, dense forests, and rugged mountains. Here, life wasn't easy, but the Nordics were tough. They lived in cozy houses made of wood and turf and huddled around hearths, sharing stories and singing songs that echoed through generations. But don't be fooled into thinking their lives revolved solely around warmth and storytelling. No, the Nordics were also explorers. They navigated treacherous seas in their longships, trading goods and spreading their influence. These weren't just boats. They were vessels of adventure and discovery, and the Vikings weren't afraid to use them. From raiding coastal settlements to exploring uncharted territories, they pushed the boundaries of what was known. They set sail to conquer new lands, clashing with Anglo-Saxons in England, the Franks in France, the Byzantines in the East. But their thirst for adventure didn't stop there. They charted courses to Iceland and Greenland, establishing settlements in these far-flung lands. And rumor has it they even touched the shores of North America, not by plane or rocket, but by good old Viking boat. You might be wondering, why did they do all this? Well, it's simple. For the Nordics, the world wasn't big enough. They craved more than what their small homelands offered. They wanted to see what lay beyond the horizon, beyond the mountains, beyond the sea. They were explorers, yes, but they were also dreamers, schemers, and storytellers. The Nordics had a knack for spinning yarns that would put any Hollywood script to shame. They spoke of gods and monsters, of heroes and villains, of adventures that would make your hair stand on end. Tales of Thor battling giants, of Odin's quest for wisdom, of brave Vikings sailing into the unknown. These stories weren't just for entertainment. They were woven into the fabric of Nordic life. They taught lessons, preserved history, and bound communities together. If you ever want to understand the Nordic spirit, delve into their sagas, because that's where you'll find the real magic. So you might be picturing the Nordics as fierce warriors and adventurous explorers. And guess what? That's not entirely wrong, but let's add a layer of complexity to this portrait, shall we? The Nordics weren't just about battles and boats. They had a system of beliefs, a way of seeing the world that was as intricate as it was intense. Picture a pantheon of gods, each with their own quirks, flaws, and domains. There was Thor, the god of thunder, ready to smash giants with his mighty hammer. Then came Odin, the All-Father, always seeking wisdom and knowledge. And let's not forget Loki, the trickster god, adding chaos to the mix with his cunning ways. These weren't deities to be trifled with. They were powerful, unpredictable, and deeply human in their struggles. And here's the kicker: the Nordics believed these gods weren't distant, untouchable beings. No, they believed the gods walked among them, influencing events, interacting with humans in ways both grand and small. Talk about a divine connection. Now let's throw in a dash of fate into this mix. The Nordics firmly believed that every soul had a predetermined path, a fate that was as inevitable as the sunrise. It wasn't a question of if bad things would happen, but when, and how you faced your fate was what truly mattered, with courage, with dignity, with honor. Because in the Nordic worldview, it wasn't the length of your life that counted, but the depth of your spirit. Let me ask you a question. How does one survive in a world where the sun disappears for months on end, where the cold seeps into your bones, and where shadows whisper tales of monsters lurking nearby? Simple, you adapt. You become as resilient as the mountains that pierce the sky and as enduring as the forests that endure the harshest winters. That's how the Nordics survived. They celebrated the cycles of nature, the ebb and flow of seasons, the dance of light and darkness. They harnessed the power of the elements, taming wild horses, breeding sturdy livestock and building homes that could withstand the fury of storms. Their survival wasn't just about brute strength. It was about understanding, respecting, and working with the natural world. Now, here's a fascinating aspect of the Nordics. They left their mark on the world in a way that's as unique as their lifestyle. Ever heard of runes? These weren't just ancient symbols. They were a way of preserving knowledge, telling stories, and connecting with the mystical. The Nordics carved runes onto stones, pieces of wood, or whatever surface they could find, creating a legacy that has echoed through time. Imagine stumbling upon a weathered stone monolith in a remote meadow and realizing that its cryptic etchings hold secrets from a bygone era. That's the magic of runes, and it's a testament to the Nordic spirit of expression. Now, let's shift our focus from the practicalities of survival to the mysteries that haunted the Nordic imagination. They believed in a realm where the veil between worlds was thin, where spirits roamed freely, and where the dead weren't truly gone. In their tales, you'll find trolls lurking under bridges, giants sleeping on mountain tops, and mischievous elves hiding in the forest. But it wasn't just mythical creatures that kept the Nordics up at night. They feared the wrath of nature, the destructive power of storms, the chilling touch of winter, and the darkness that seemed to swallow the very essence of life during those endless polar nights. And then there's death. It wasn't a visitor that knocked politely at the door. Oh no, death was a part of life, as inevitable as the changing seasons. The Nordics didn't shy away from this reality. They embraced it, preparing for it, honoring it, and sometimes fearing it. Think about it. If you've ever lived in a place where the sun barely peeks out from behind the clouds for months on end, you'd understand why they'd find comfort in rituals, stories, and beliefs. It's not just about warding off the darkness. It's about finding a way to navigate it. For the Nordics, the journey didn't end with death. They believed in an afterlife, a place where warriors could feast with Odin in Valhalla, where souls wandered in the ethereal realm of Folkvanger, and where even the god Loki had his own special underworld. But remember, this was a world where nothing was certain except change. The Nordics never stopped exploring, conquering, dreaming, and believing. As we bring this segment to a close, let's take a moment to appreciate the resilience of the human spirit. The Nordics weren't just survivors. They were storytellers, explorers, and dreamers who dared to venture beyond the familiar. Imagine living in a world where the sun seems to mock you with its fleeting visits, where the cold bites at your skin, and where the line between bravery and foolishness is as thin as ice. And yet the Nordics thrived. They found solace in community, strength in their beliefs, and courage in the face of adversity. Their world was a tapestry woven with threads of light and darkness, of hope and despair, of triumph and tragedy. But through it all, they stood tall, or at least they tried to. After all, in a world where fate is a constant companion, the only thing you can truly control is how you choose to live. And the Nordics lived their lives to the fullest, embracing the beauty, facing the horrors, and cherishing the moments that made their world so hauntingly human. I've just scratched the surface of the Nordic story. There's so much more to uncover, more to explore, more to understand. Join me in the next episode as we delve deeper into this fascinating world. Until then, let the echoes of Nordic sagas resonate in your mind, reminding you that in the darkest of nights, the human spirit can still shine brightly.